Good evening and welcome to Quiet Science. Tonight we're going to slowly explore what it really means to be an apex predator and why the top of a food web is not always as simple as the biggest hunter in sight. At first, it sounds like a crown, one animal above all the others. But in nature, the story is quieter and stranger than that. Habitat matters. Timing matters. Age, darkness, snow, water, cover, and chance all shift the balance. A predator may rule one layer of a forest, one season of a shore, or one hidden corner of a pond, while being vulnerable somewhere else. If you'd like to join us for more nights like this one, you're welcome to like and subscribe below. It means the world to this little channel. But for now, get comfortable. Let your breathing slow. Let the living web do the rest. Let's begin. Top of a food web does not always belong to the biggest or fiercest animal. An apex predator is a fully grown animal that, in its usual habitat, has no regular natural predator of its own. That definition is quiet and exact. It leaves room for danger because even the strongest hunter can still be harmed, weakened, or killed under difficult conditions. Yet it marks a real position in the living world. With no other animal routinely hunting it, an apex predator spends less of its life escaping pursuit and more of it facing the constant challenge of finding enough to eat. Even so, apex status does not belong only to bulk and weight. A smaller hunter can hold a commanding place through entirely different powers. Venom can make size less important by turning a brief strike into a delayed collapse. Speed can close distance before escape begins. Stealth can erase warning until the final instant. Coordinated group behavior can let several bodies act like one larger force, surrounding, tiring, or isolating prey that would resist a lone attacker. The top of a food web, then, is not reserved for the heaviest creature standing in open view. It can belong to an animal that is slight, hidden, swift, or social, if those qualities let it overcome rivals and secure prey with greater consistency than others nearby. Before any animal becomes powerful enough to hold that place, a harder rule waits underneath. Hunting costs energy. Every chase burns fuel and muscle. Every dive pushes against water. Every ambush requires time held in stillness. And even stillness has a price when a body must stay warm, alert, and ready to move. A predator begins each attempt with a kind of arithmetic already in motion. It must gain more energy from the prey than the hunt spends. If that balance fails too often, the sharpest teeth and the keenest senses are not enough. An apex predator is therefore not only a killer, it is an animal whose way of hunting works economically often enough to keep the body fed, repaired, and alive through many uncertain days. The animals it hunts are never merely waiting. Prey live under pressure, and that pressure shapes them into difficult targets. Some carry sharp eyesight that catches a movement at the edge of cover. Some give alarm calls that turn one animal's fear into the whole group's warning. Some vanish into camouflage, becoming bark, grass, shadow, until the hunter passes by. Others rely on speed or armor or spines or hard-striking hooves. Many survive by watching together, each pair of eyes adding to the safety of the rest. Every hunt begins as a contest between one set of abilities and another. The predator is active, but the prey is active too, resisting not only with flight, but with form, attention, and collective caution. The place where this contest happens matters from the beginning. Dense kelp does not offer the same possibilities as tall grass. Sea ice does not shape movement as deep water does, and open desert does not reward the same senses as a shaded forest edge. Habitat quietly selects what kind of hunter can do well there. Cover can favor ambush. Distance can favor long sight. A narrow channel can concentrate movement, while a broad plain can expose it. Even the texture of a place matters, whether it muffles sound, carries scent, slows feet, or hides outlines. An apex predator is therefore not built in the abstract. It is fitted, however, imperfectly to a world of surfaces, currents, winds, shadows, and openings that make some strategies possible and others wasteful. Body size changes the problem again. A larger predator can attempt larger prey because its mass gives it leverage, strength, and the ability to absorb resistance. It can pull down bodies that would simply drag a smaller hunter away. But size brings costs with it. A large body needs more food to maintain itself, and hunger returns with greater weight behind it. Large animals may also reveal themselves more easily, their movement less easy to hide, their silhouettes harder to break apart against the background. Size opens some doors and closes others. It expands what prey is possible while increasing the daily demand for success. The top predator is not always the biggest, because bigness is an advantage only when the habitat, the prey, and the cost of being large all remain in balance. The parts that actually seize and kill prey are rarely general tools. Teeth, beaks, claws, talons, and jaws often carry the shape of repeated use, each form matching the prey a predator handles most often. A cutting edge, a piercing point, a gripping curve, a crushing bite. Each one belongs to a certain kind of work. A hunter that must hold slippery prey does not need the same equipment as one that tears flesh from thick hide, or one that pins a struggling body beneath its own weight. These structures are not decorations of danger. They are fitted surfaces where predator and prey physically meet. In that brief contact, shape matters. The wrong shape wastes force. The right one turns a difficult struggle into a shorter, safer, more efficient act. Before those tools are used, the hunt is already being prepared by the senses. Some predators rely mainly on smell, reading the air or the ground for traces left behind. Others depend on vision tuned especially to motion, able to notice a flicker, a shift, a body crossing a line of cover. Some lean on hearing, pulling location from faint sound. In water, vibration itself can carry information. In other cases, heat becomes a guide. Each sensory system opens a different version of the world. It determines what can be detected soonest, what can be tracked most reliably, and what remains hidden until too late. Hunting begins long before contact. It begins with what enters the predator's awareness and with what slips past it, still safe in darkness, silence, stillness, or distance. The body behind those senses also sets strict limits. A predator can only do what its skeleton and muscles allow. The spring of a cat's spine stores and releases force in a way suited to sudden acceleration and bounding turns. Broad wings support long soaring search flights, where distance is covered with less constant effort. Limbs, joints, and muscle arrangement decide whether an animal can climb, burst forward, hover, glide, twist, or endure. There is no hunting strategy apart from this framework. Thought and instinct may choose among possibilities, but the body defines the possibilities in the first place. It says how far a leap can reach, how quickly a turn can happen, how long a chase can continue, and how much force can be delivered at the exact moment when success depends on mechanics becoming action. Water and air divide predation into very different physical worlds. A hunter in the sea must cope with buoyancy and drag in ways a land predator never faces. Water supports weight, but it also resists movement more heavily than air does. Bodies moving through it must solve the problem of pushing forward without wasting too much energy in turbulence and resistance. A marine apex predator therefore carries a different set of compromises than one that runs on land or circles overhead in air. The medium itself shapes speed, maneuvering, and the cost of searching. It also changes how prey can flee, whether by diving, schooling, surfacing, or vanishing into depth. To hold the top position in water is to master a fluid world whose rules are not the rules of grass, rock, or sky. Some top predators hunt alone, and their solitude shapes everything about the prey they can sensibly attempt. A lone hunter must bring down what it can control by itself, and it must accept the full risk of injury from every struggle. Other predators depend on relatives or temporary partners. In those cases, several bodies can spread effort, surround a target, block escape routes, or simply create enough force together to make larger prey worthwhile. Social difference changes the menu of the possible. A prey animal too dangerous for one hunter may become practical for many, yet cooperation also requires timing, tolerance, and a way for individuals to benefit from acting as a group. Apex status can rise from solitude or from company, but the shape of that status changes with the number of hunters involved. Territory adds another layer of advantage. Prey are not spread evenly across a landscape or seascape. One route, one reef, one valley, one stretch of shore may carry far more opportunity than another. A predator that holds such a place begins with a quiet but important edge. It does not need to search blindly over poor ground if food regularly passes through a productive corridor. Territory is therefore more than defended space. It can be a pattern of access to movement, shelter, and recurring prey. Where an animal hunts may matter almost as much as how it hunts. Top predator often succeeds not only because its body and senses are effective, but because it occupies a place where the world itself delivers chances more often. Time of day belongs to the starting conditions too. Darkness shifts what can be seen and what can be hidden. Glare can expose one body while concealing another. Moonlight can sharpen outlines or soften them. Wind changes over hours, carrying scent differently as the air cools or warms. Before any chase begins, these conditions already favor one side or the other. A predator active at 1 hour may be poorly suited to another, not because its body changes, but because the world around that body does. The same field, shoreline, or patch of ice can become a different hunting ground by dusk, by noon, or under cloud. Apex status is never detached from time. It unfolds inside cycles of light, wind, and visibility that alter the odds in subtle ways. Hunting ability is often learned by doing. Many predators improve through repeated attempts, each failure and success shaping coordination, judgment, and timing. Maturity does not instantly place a finished hunter into the world. Skill accumulates instead. A young animal may know the broad outline of what to do, yet still waste energy, strike too soon, misread distance, or choose prey too difficult to handle. Practice refines all of this. It teaches how close is close enough, how long stillness can be held, when to abandon a chase, and where prey tends to break, hesitate, or bolt. Apex predators often seem effortless only after many attempts have worn pathways into muscle and attention. Their power is not only inherited in the body, it is also built patiently from experience. Even near the top of a food web, no animal steps outside risk entirely. Apex status is relative. Parasites can weaken a strong body from within. Disease can drain strength or cloud judgment. Injury can turn a successful hunter into a failing one in a matter of days. Starvation remains possible whenever prey become hard to catch or hard to find. The apex predator is simply less often preyed upon by other animals once full grown in its usual habitat. The larger world still presses on it through hunger, sickness, damage, and chance. That is part of what makes the position so exacting. To stay near the top, a predator must keep functioning under pressures that never fully disappear. One path to success is ambush. An ambush predator often reduces movement until almost nothing remains but readiness. Stillness becomes part of the strategy. When the body no longer offers the clear signs of life that prey are primed to notice, attention slides elsewhere. Background cover helps with this, breaking the outline into grass, branch, rock, weed, or shadow. The prey may continue feeding, walking, or drinking without fixing on a definite shape. Then, only at the final instant, the stored possibility of movement is released. The value of ambush lies partly in surprise and partly in economy. Energy is conserved during the waiting phase, and the costly burst of force is spent only when distance has been narrowed enough to make success more likely than failure. Other predators choose pursuit instead. They trade surprise for speed or endurance, meeting prey in open contest and trying to force a result through pressure over time. A long sprint may wear the fleeing animal down. A sharp turn may cost it balance. Rough ground may produce the small mistake that ends the chase. Pursuit hunting accepts the visibility of movement and turns that exposure into a test of performance. The predator must run, corner, or maintain pressure better than the prey can escape. This is expensive work and often uncertain, but in some bodies and habitats, it becomes a reliable path. Open spaces, strong limbs, efficient breathing, or simple persistence can make pursuit worthwhile. The apex hunter that succeeds this way does not vanish. It drives the contest forward until weakness appears. Some of the most effective hunters do not belong entirely to either style. They combine methods, using patience and force in sequence rather than choosing only one. Stalking close saves energy and reduces the distance that must be covered at high cost. Then, when success begins to look likely, the predator shifts into a short, explosive chase. This blend respects the arithmetic of hunting. It avoids wasting a long sprint from too far away, but also avoids waiting forever for a perfect opening that may never come. The body and the habitat decide how well such switching works. Cover must exist for the approach, and enough power must remain for the final burst. In this mixed strategy, the hunt is not a single mode of behavior. It is a changing process, adjusted moment by moment. Some senses are so specialized that they seem almost like a second route into hidden life. Owls, for example, can locate faint rustling by using uneven ear openings. The slight difference in how sound arrives at each opening helps compare direction with extraordinary precision. A small movement under grass or beneath snow creates tiny delays and differences, and the owl's hearing turns those into location. Prey does not need to be visible for the hunt to proceed. Sound alone can shape the strike. This matters especially in dim conditions or where cover hides the body itself. In such moments, the landscape is not silent to the owl. It is patterned with hints, and those hints can be enough to place talons where sight would find almost nothing. Sharks move through another sensory world. In dark or cloudy water, vision may lose much of its usefulness, but prey still carries electrical activity. Muscles and nerves produce weak electrical fields, and sharks can sense them. This gives the hunter another way to find living bodies when water obscures outline and color. A fish hidden by murk is not fully hidden if its own tissues quietly announce its presence. The sense does not replace the others so much as extend them into conditions where ordinary searching would fail. In the sea, where suspended matter can turn distance opaque, this ability becomes part of what keeps a predator effective. It allows detection to continue beyond the limits of clear sight, adding certainty where the water itself would otherwise erase detail. Pit vipers rely on a different hidden signal. Their facial pits detect infrared warmth, letting them aim strikes toward warm-bodied animals even when light is low. The prey's heat stands out against cooler surroundings, and that contrast becomes usable information. In darkness, where shape and color fade away, warmth remains. This does not make the strike automatic. Distance, angle, and timing still matter, but it gives the predator a way to place force toward living tissue with remarkable accuracy under conditions that would challenge vision alone. The hunt becomes partly a matter of thermal contrast, of warm life moving through cooler space. Such sensing shows how apex ability can depend not simply on strength, but on access to forms of information that prey cannot easily conceal. Cooperation changes the hunt in its own quiet way. A wolf pack can test a herd by spreading out and watching reactions rather than charging blindly into the strongest center. This creates a moving examination. Which animal hesitates? Which one separates? Which one carries a limp? The pack is not only pursuing, it is reading weakness as it emerges under pressure. The safer target is often the one that drifts from the group's protection or cannot match the herd's collective response. By working together, wolves widen the field of attention. Several hunters can observe several points at once, and the herd's own movement reveals where risk is lowest for the predators. In this way, cooperation is not merely added strength, it is shared perception turned into strategy. Orcas also show how cooperative hunting can divide into roles. In some hunts, certain individuals herd fish or create waves, while others wait where the prey is most likely to be driven. The group does not act as a simple cluster of identical bodies. It becomes a temporary arrangement of positions and tasks. One movement by one animal shapes the opportunity for another. This can increase efficiency because effort is not spent all in the same place at once. Prey is guided, concentrated, or destabilized, and another hunter takes the best moment to seize it. Such cooperation expands what is possible in the water. It allows the hunt to unfold across space, with one action preparing the next. Apex status here depends not only on power, but on coordination precise enough to make several separate bodies function as a single hunting system. Height can be an energy-saving tool. Hunters use it as part of their strategy, scanning large areas from thermals or perches. From above, a hunter can search without crossing every patch of ground directly. A perch offers stillness and a broad view. A thermal offers lift, allowing a wide search with less active effort than constant flapping. This reduces the cost of looking for prey, which is often one of the largest hidden expenses in hunting. Searching blindly wastes time and energy. Searching from height gathers information more efficiently. The raptor does not need to descend until a worthwhile target appears. In this way, the sky itself becomes part of the hunting apparatus, not only a route of travel, but a platform from which the landscape is read. Some bodies are built for an extraordinary burst, but only a brief one. Cheetahs carry a flexible spine, long legs, and a balancing tail, all suited to rapid acceleration and fast turning during a short chase. Their design favors immediate speed, yet this speed cannot be maintained for long. They overheat quickly, and the cost of top performance rises sharply with time. The hunt must fit the body's narrow window of greatest advantage. Distance needs to be reduced before the sprint begins, and the prey must be overtaken soon after. If not, the chase becomes too expensive and too physically difficult to continue. Apex ability here is finely tuned rather than broadly powerful, resting on a short interval in which the body performs at an extreme and then must stop. Once prey is caught, killing efficiently matters. Big cats often use a precise bite to the throat or muzzle because control of breathing can end the struggle faster than random clawing. This is not simply a matter of force. It is a matter of directing force toward a vulnerable function. A prolonged struggle costs energy and increases danger to the hunter, especially when prey kicks, twists, or strikes back. A precise bite shortens that risk. It turns capture into control and control into a quicker end. Claws may help seize and hold, but the bite often finishes the work. In this moment, the predator's anatomy and behavior meet exactly. Teeth, jaw strength, and practiced placement combine to make the kill less chaotic than it might appear from a distance. Constricting snakes solve the same problem differently. They do not usually crush bones. Instead, they tighten around the chest so that breathing and blood flow become difficult within a short time. The coils are not random pressure. They are targeted restraint, increasing as the prey exhales or struggles. This method allows a predator without limbs or a tearing bite to subdue prey effectively through contact and control. It also reduces the need for a dangerous, prolonged struggle with the prey still fully active. Once the body is secured, the snake's strength is applied steadily in the right place. The kill comes not from breaking the prey apart, but from making vital movement impossible. It is a quiet method, almost still, yet it is exact in the problem it solves. Not all predators chase or strike in the familiar ways. A spider using a web is a predator too. Silk becomes a quiet sensing net suspended in the path of passing prey. When an insect touches it, vibration travels through the threads and reports movement to the waiting spider. The web is both trap and information system. It extends the predator outward into surrounding space, allowing detection and capture without direct pursuit. This changes the energy budget of hunting. The spider invests in silk, position, and patience rather than in repeated chases. Prey movement activates the system. The hunter waits for the world to touch its net. Apex status does not usually belong to spiders in the same sense as large vertebrate hunters, but the predatory principle is the same. Form and behavior match to opportunity. Some fish hunt by suction. They rapidly expand the mouth cavity, and water rushes inward, carrying prey with it before the victim can react. This is a different kind of speed, less about crossing distance with the whole body, and more about creating a sudden flow at close range. The prey is not simply bitten, it is pulled in by the surrounding water itself. In an environment where bodies are already suspended in fluid, this method can be remarkably effective. A small delay in the prey's response is enough. By the time escape begins, the water is already moving inward. Such hunting shows again how the medium shapes the technique. In water, the predator can use the fluid around the prey as part of the capture mechanism. Boundaries often concentrate risk. Crocodilians wait at the water's edge because land and water meet there in a narrow zone that thirsty prey must approach. The boundary funnels movement. Animals coming to drink cannot remain entirely in the safety of distance, and they may lower their heads or focus on the water itself. The crocodilian uses this repeated need. It remains where one habitat presses against another, hidden in the medium that best conceals it, and waits for prey to enter the smallest possible corridor of vulnerability. This is not pursuit over broad space. It is control of a crossing point. The top predator gains advantage because many different prey routes reduce to the same edge, and that edge can be watched with immense patience. Polar bears depend on another edge entirely. Sea ice serves as a hunting platform, and seal breathing holes become places of concentrated possibility. A seal's safest place to surface is also its most dangerous, because it must return there for air. The bear approaches slowly, using the ice itself as access to that point. Here the habitat does more than support the predator's weight. It creates the geometry of the hunt. Open water, ice, and air meet in a specific arrangement, and the breathing hole becomes a predictable opening in that arrangement. Apex power in this case depends on understanding where prey must appear, then arriving with enough patience and control to turn necessity against the animal that depends on it. Force alone does not decide a hunt. Timing is just as important. A strike launched too early may reveal the predator before contact can be made, giving the prey the one warning it needs. A strike launched too late may miss the brief opening entirely, arriving where the prey was rather than where it is. Hunting, therefore, rests on a narrow window in which movement and opportunity align. This is true in ambush, pursuit, and cooperative attacks alike. Timing is the conversion point between preparation and result. All the waiting, stalking, searching, and positioning become useful only if the final action lands within that short interval when success is physically possible. Apex predators often appear decisive because they are selective about when they commit their most expensive movement. Wind can quietly undo an ambush. If scent is carried toward prey, a hidden predator may be detected before it comes close enough to act. The body can remain motionless, the cover can be excellent, the distance can seem favorable, and still the hunt can fail because the air itself carries warning forward. For predators that rely on concealment, wind direction is therefore not background detail. It is part of the mechanism of success or failure. The hunter must approach with the moving air in mind, or wait until conditions improve. Scent spreads invisibly, but its effects are immediate. A prey animal that smells danger may stiffen, flee, or alert others long before the predator sees any outward sign. Air becomes a messenger, and not always on the hunter's side. prey animals often reduce individual risk by bunching together. In a tight group, many moving bodies create confusion. The predator has more difficulty tracking one target among many shifting forms. Attention is pulled in several directions at once. A single animal that would be easy to follow in open space becomes harder to isolate when surrounded by others moving at similar speed and changing direction together. This is not perfect safety, but it changes the odds. The burden of being chosen is spread across the group, and the predator's focus is strained. For a hunter, confusion is costly because hesitation wastes the moment when action must be exact. Grouping, therefore, acts as a defense, not by fighting back directly, but by making selection itself more difficult. Predators answer this confusion with their own adjustments. One common response is to focus on the edge of the group, where a slightly isolated animal is easier to single out. The center is protected not by armor, but by complexity. The edge is simpler. There, spacing may widen for an instant, and one body may stand out enough to become trackable. A hunter that fixes attention on this margin avoids the visual and movement chaos of the densest cluster. The tactic is subtle but important. It shows that predation often depends less on overpowering the whole group than on finding the one place where the group's defense thins. Apex status is maintained by such small decisions, repeated many times, each one turning a broad challenge into a narrower, more manageable task. Defensive armor changes the hunt again. Thick shell or tough hide can make ordinary attack ineffective, forcing the predator to change methods or abandon the attempt. Some prey must be flipped, pried open, drowned, or simply avoided because the cost of overcoming their protection is too high. Armor does not make an animal invulnerable, but it alters what counts as practical prey. The predator must possess not only the strength to attack, but the specific means to get past the defense. If it cannot, then the prey sits partly outside its menu despite being physically present. This is one reason apex status is not universal power. Even top predators meet bodies that are poorly matched to their own tools, and the wisest choice may be not to engage at all. Venom offers a different solution to dangerous prey. It allows some predators to subdue animals larger or more risky than their jaws alone could safely handle. Instead of maintaining a prolonged struggle at close range, the hunter delivers a chemical weapon that begins doing the work internally. This changes the balance of risk. The predator may not need to hold the prey with overwhelming force if the venom can weaken, immobilize, or otherwise reduce resistance after the strike. In that sense, venom extends the predator's effective power beyond what its visible body might suggest. It is another reminder that apex status does not belong only to mass and muscle. A smaller hunter with venom may dominate encounters that would be far too dangerous if force had to be supplied only by teeth and jaws. Intelligence in hunting often appears not as grandeur, but as flexibility. A predator changes routes when one path stops working. It remembers prey habits and returns when chances are best. It uses one failed attempt to improve the next. This kind of intelligence is practical and quiet. It lives in adjustment. The world does not hold still for a hunter. Prey shift their behavior, weather alters conditions, and competition changes access to food. A rigid strategy breaks under such variation. A flexible one bends and continues. Apex predators often succeed because they are not trapped inside one response. They can alter timing, position, and method in light of what happened before. In a life where failure is common, the ability to learn from failure becomes part of what keeps success frequent enough. Young predators usually begin on easier prey. Smaller targets allow practice without the full cost of larger mistakes. Coordination improves. Judgment grows steadier. The young hunter learns what can be caught, what can be held, and what should be abandoned before effort is wasted or injury begins. This gradual rise matters because large hunts are costly teachers. A failed attempt on powerful prey may burn too much energy or bring dangerous retaliation. By starting smaller, the predator builds the body's skill and the mind's caution together. What later looks like confidence often rests on many earlier encounters that were less dramatic but deeply instructive. Apex ability in this sense is assembled in stages, each successful lesson widening the range of prey the growing hunter can attempt. Even within a top species, access to food is not equal. Dominant adults may displace younger hunters from prime feeding sites, pushing them away from the most productive routes or the safest opportunities. Social rank therefore affects hunting success beyond individual skill. A younger predator may know what to do and still be forced into poorer places, thinner prey, or riskier attempts simply because stronger adults hold the better ground. This creates another layer of difficulty in becoming apex. Species may stand near the top of the food web, but individuals within it move through a hierarchy of access. A prime site can mean less searching, better timing, and more frequent success. Being denied that site changes the entire energy balance of life for the subordinate hunter. Fresh killing is not the whole story of apex life. Many top predators also scavenge because an already dead meal can be safer and more efficient than making a new kill. If food is available without the cost of pursuit or the danger of struggle, taking it can be the wiser choice. This does not diminish predatory status. It reveals the underlying economy again. Energy saved is energy gained, and risk avoided protects future hunting ability. A carcass offers concentrated nutrition without the same immediate uncertainty as a chase. In the living world, categories often overlap. A predator can be a hunter and a scavenger in the same week or the same day, depending on opportunity. Efficiency matters more than purity of role, and apex animals often survive by accepting that fact. Top predators also steal from one another when they can. A successful hunter may attract competitors that would rather take food than catch it themselves. This pressure changes behavior around a kill. The animal that made the catch may need to eat quickly before others arrive, or drag the food into cover where it is harder to challenge. Even after success, control is not guaranteed. The food web's upper levels can be crowded with tension among hunters whose interests overlap. Kleptoparasitism, the taking of food from another, becomes part of the daily calculation. It can turn a good hunt into a hurried meal or a defended one. Apex life is therefore not peaceful dominance. It is often a contested holding of resources in the presence of equally capable thieves. In the sea, moving water can gather prey the way landforms gather animals on land. Marine predators often hunt where currents concentrate life, using these invisible flows as tools. A current can bring small animals together, and where they gather, larger prey may gather as well. The predator does not create this concentration, but it can learn and exploit it. This makes the water itself part of the hunting landscape, not empty space, but a shifting structure with productive lines and meeting points. On land, a valley narrows movement into a route. In the sea, a current can do something similar without any visible wall. Apex success in marine environments often depends on finding these moving patterns and returning to them when they hold food. Night and day favor different hunters. Nocturnal hunting can benefit predators with large light-sensitive eyes or fine hearing, because darkness reduces the usefulness of some visual defenses while increasing the value of sound and low-light perception. Daylight, by contrast, may favor sharp distance vision and the ability to distinguish contrast in color across open space. The same prey species may therefore face different risks depending on the hour, and predators may partition their activity accordingly. Time is not just a schedule laid over hunting. It changes which senses are strongest and which forms of concealment still work. An apex predator often fits a certain light regime as closely as it fits a habitat, becoming most effective when its sensory strengths line up with the world's current conditions. Seasons alter both hunter and prey. Lean prey may be easier to catch, their strength reduced, their movements less forceful, their reserves diminished. But lean predators may also struggle, lacking the energy for long chases or repeated failed attempts. Body condition on both sides shifts with food availability, weather, migration, and the demands of the year. This means hunting success can change even when the same species meet in the same place. The bodies entering the contest are not always equally prepared. A predator near the top of the food web still lives inside these seasonal swings, sometimes carrying abundant strength, sometimes operating close to deficit. Apex status persists through such changes only if success remains frequent enough despite them. Because future hunts matter, top predators often avoid unnecessary injury. A broken tooth, a torn paw pad, a damaged wing, even if small, can sharply reduce later hunting success. The body is not only a weapon, it is the entire means of earning food. Damage, therefore, has consequences beyond the immediate pain. It can lower speed, precision, grip, endurance, or the ability to search. For this reason, An apex predator may abandon a difficult target if the risk seems too high. Caution is part of effectiveness. The strongest hunter is not the one that attacks everything, but the one that survives well enough to keep hunting. In a life governed by repeated attempts, preserving the body is a form of strategy every bit as important as aggression. Prey often learn the shapes and sounds of danger. Some survive by recognizing specific predator silhouettes or noises and reacting before the hunter closes in. This forces predators to manage not only distance, but appearance. They may approach low, move slowly, or use terrain to mask their outline. A ridge, a patch of vegetation, a bend in the shore can interrupt the visual signal that would otherwise trigger flight. Hunting then becomes partly a problem of presentation. The predator must avoid looking too much like itself at the wrong moment. This is a subtle contest of perception, with prey tuned to warning and predators adjusting how they enter that field of notice. Apex status remains a moving balance because even recognition itself becomes part of the arms race. In water, movement can betray itself through pressure waves. A body pushing through the sea disturbs the fluid around it, and prey may sense those disturbances before the predator arrives. That is why some aquatic predators glide with minimal turbulence until the final burst. Quiet movement delays detection. It preserves the advantage of closeness in a medium where touch at a distance can happen through water itself. The hunter must therefore manage not only speed, but the wake of information it leaves behind. This is another marine version of stealth, less about visible outline than about pressure and flow. When the final acceleration comes, it comes late, after the predator has crossed as much distance as possible without announcing itself through the water. No predator wins every encounter. Apex status does not require perfection. It depends on winning often enough, across enough seasons, to feed, survive, and reproduce better than rivals. That phrase, often enough, matters. Hunts fail. Opportunities are missed. Weather shifts. Prey escapes. Competitors steal. Injury and hunger interrupt the pattern. Yet if success remains more frequent or more profitable than it is for other predators in the same setting, the hunter can still hold the top position. This makes apex life less like a crown and more like a long-running balance of gains and losses. The predator stays near the top not by invincibility, but by maintaining a favorable average through many uncertain attempts spread across the years. And because prey keep adapting too, that balance never becomes permanent. Defenses sharpen, habits shift, recognition improves, grouping changes, routes alter. Predators answer with their own adjustments, changing methods, timing, and place. Apex status is therefore maintained rather than simply possessed. It is a moving balance, not a fixed title. The top hunter remains effective only by continuing to match a living world that is also changing under pressure. There is no final still point in which one side has solved the other forever. Instead, there is an ongoing exchange of response and counter-response, carried through bodies, behaviors, and habitats. The apex predator stands high in that exchange, but it stands there only as long as adjustment keeps pace with the world around it. When a top predator declines, the effects can move outward through many smaller lives. Mid-sized predators often become more numerous in its absence, and that increase can place greater pressure on smaller prey. The food web shifts not only at the top, but through the layers beneath it. Animals that were once limited by a stronger hunter may expand their numbers or their reach, changing how often they catch what they feed on. The result is not a single simple consequence, but a ripple. One reduction alters another abundance, which alters another vulnerability. Apex predators therefore matter not only for what they kill directly, but for the way their presence can restrain other predators whose own effects would otherwise spread more widely. The presence of a top predator can also change where herbivores feed. Animals that browse heavily in one place may shift their movements when danger is nearby, and that shift can give plants time to recover. The predator does not need to catch every herbivore to matter. Mere presence can alter patterns of use across the landscape. A valley, shoreline, or meadow may become less comfortable for feeding if risk rises there, and the pressure on plants eases for a while. In this way, apex status reaches into parts of the ecosystem that seem far removed from teeth and claws. Movement changes, feeding changes. Growth has room to return in places that were being heavily browsed. The top predator becomes part of the distribution of life, not only its removal. Predators near the top often remove weak, sick, or unwary animals first. Over many generations, that selective pressure can influence prey survival patterns. The individuals most likely to be caught are not chosen at random. A limp, a hesitation, a failure to stay with the group, an inability to detect danger early enough, all can increase vulnerability. When those traits are repeatedly filtered through predation, the prey population is shaped by who survives long enough to reproduce. This does not make the process simple or uniform, but it does make it directional. The top predator contributes to the pattern of survival by taking certain animals more often than others. In the long quiet of generations, repeated choices by hunters leave traces in the living qualities of the hunted. A large hunter rarely consumes every part of what it kills. Carcasses left behind become short-lived food islands for scavengers, insects, and microbes. Energy stored in one body spreads outward into many smaller lives. Flesh, skin, fluids, and bone become resources, each claimed by different feeders in turn. What begins as a successful hunt continues as a wider transfer. The apex predator opens the body, but the ecosystem continues the work of use in return. This is one of the gentler truths of predation. Death does not end movement through the food web. It redistributes it. Around a carcass, the living gather in sequence, and what was once one animal becomes nourishment dispersed through a whole temporary community. Apex status always depends on place, An animal may stand at the top in one habitat and not in another, because a river, a reef edge, a forest canopy, or an open plain changes who can hunt effectively there. The same body can be powerful in one setting and disadvantaged in the next. Cover may disappear. Movement may slow. A rival better suited to the new conditions may take over the upper position. This is why apex predator is not a universal label attached to a species everywhere it goes. It is a relationship between an animal and a habitat. The top position belongs to whoever can best solve the local problems of finding, catching, and keeping prey under the conditions that place imposes. Age matters in the same way. Young individuals of a top species are rarely apex from birth. Size, skill, and experience must develop before they can dominate large prey or hold their own against rivals. A juvenile may belong to an apex species and still live far from the top in practical terms, vulnerable in ways a mature adult is not. The body needs time to grow into its full strength, and the mind needs time to gather the repeated lessons of hunting. Until then, easier prey, safer places, and avoidance of stronger individuals shape daily life. Apex status, then, is not simply inherited. It is entered gradually as capability accumulates and the young hunter becomes able to survive the more demanding contests of adult life. Even powerful predators spend much of their time resting, watching, or conserving energy. Failed hunts are common, and chasing everything would waste more fuel than it gains. The image of constant action does not fit the reality of life near the top. Much of that life is restraint. A predator lies still, surveys a route, waits by an opening, drifts on a current, or simply remains quiet while the body recovers. This is not inactivity in the deeper sense. It is part of the strategy imposed by the energy problem that governs all hunting. To endure, the animal must choose carefully when to spend itself. The stillness of apex life is therefore as important as its violence, and often far more common. Competition between top predators can divide a shared ecosystem into uneasy arrangements. Different hunters may use different times, places, or prey choices, allowing several to occupy the same landscape without constant direct conflict. One may favor a certain hour, another may hold a different route, a third may take prey of another size or kind. This division does not erase competition, but it can reduce its sharpest edges. The ecosystem becomes partitioned by behavior. Several predators share it, not peacefully, but through partial separation that limits overlap enough for each to persist. Apex status in such a place is not solitary rule. It is a negotiated pattern of coexistence shaped by risk, opportunity, and the cost of confronting equally dangerous rivals too often. Some ecosystems never settle into one permanent ruler at all. Apex status can shift with season, drought, migration, or ice cover as prey and danger move through the environment. A hunter dominant under one set of conditions may lose that advantage when water levels drop, when herds leave, when sea ice changes, or when another predator gains access to the same space. The top of the food web can therefore be fluid. changing with the world's own rearrangements. This does not make the idea meaningless. It makes it conditional, tied to moving circumstances rather than fixed forever in one species. In some places, the question is not who is always on top, but who holds the advantage during this season, in this habitat, under these conditions. The effects of top predators on ecosystems do not look identical everywhere. Climate, habitat structure, disease, and human activity can blur or alter those effects, and there is still debate about how strongly top predators control every system in every case. In some places, their influence may move clearly through the food web. In others, many forces overlap so densely that no single pattern stands out cleanly. This uncertainty belongs to the natural world itself, where causes do not always separate neatly. Apex predators matter, but they matter within climates, landscapes, illnesses, and disturbances that also shape what lives and what grows. The top position remains important, yet it is part of a larger web of conditions that can strengthen, soften, or redirect its reach. So an apex predator is best understood not as a perfect conqueror, but as a living answer to a difficult set of conditions. It is an animal that usually goes unhunted by other animals when fully grown in its usual home, yet still lives under hunger, injury, weather, competition, and change. Its body fits certain prey better than others. Its senses open one version of the world and leave another hidden. Its success depends on energy saved, timing chosen well, and risk refused as often as risk embraced. Sometimes it hunts alone, sometimes with others. Sometimes it kills. Sometimes it scavenges. Always it adjusts. In that long adjustment, there is a kind of stillness. The top hunter rests often, watches carefully, and spends itself only when the opening is right. Around it, prey keep learning, habitats keep shifting, and seasons keep changing the terms of the contest. A river edge, a reef, a valley, a stretch of sea ice, each can hold a different answer to the question of who stands highest for the moment. And even there, the position is never beyond circumstance. It belongs to place, age, timing, and the quiet balance between what a predator can do and what the world allows. In its usual place and at full size, the animal at the top moves through a world where few other hunters regularly come for it. That is one kind of stillness, not safety exactly, more like a certain clearing around its life. Yet even there, the shape of power is not always large. Sometimes it is small and quick, sometimes hidden, sometimes carried in venom, sometimes shared among several bodies moving with one purpose. Before any chase begins, there is the old arithmetic of effort. A body must spend fuel to search, to wait, to spring, to dive, to turn. The hunt starts in that quiet balance. Nothing can be wasted for long. So much depends on what the land offers, or the sea, or the ice, or the grass standing high enough to break an outline into pieces. A reef, a valley, a route along a shore, a strip of sea ice, a place where prey gathers more often than elsewhere. To hold such a place is already an advantage. The world is uneven, food is uneven. One path may stay empty while another carries movement day after day. And the prey are never simply there. They are watchful too. Eyes lift, ears turn, bodies bunch together. Some vanish into color and shadow. Some carry armor. Some run. Some listen for the wrong sound in the grass or the shape that should not be there at the water's edge. The top hunter lives among all these refusals. Habitat writes itself into the body. Dense kelp asks one thing, open desert another. Deep water has its own silence. Tall grass has another. Sea ice holds a pale, spare kind of patience. In each place, certain senses matter more. Certain limbs matter more. A body becomes possible there and less possible somewhere else. Teeth, jaws, claws, talons, beaks. None of them are general things. Their shapes lean towards certain prey, certain moments of contact, certain endings. Muscle and bone lean that way too. The spring in a cat's spine. The breadth needed in wings that search from above. The limits are always present, even when unseen. Some hunters live by smell, some by the smallest movement, some by hearing, some by the faint disturbance moving through water, some by warmth in the dark. The world arrives to each of them differently, and from that difference a hunt begins long before the first visible motion. Time of day changes the whole field without touching a single blade of grass. Darkness favors one kind of body. Glare favors another. Moonlight can sharpen an edge. Wind can carry a warning ahead of the hidden animal, undoing stillness before it has finished its work. Even at the top, there is no perfect freedom from loss. Injury waits, disease waits, hunger waits, a broken tooth, a torn pad, a damaged wing, a season of failed chances. Apex status offers no protection from weakness. It is only a place held for a while, and held under conditions that can change. And many of these hunters do not arrive fully formed. Practice gathers into them. Repeated attempts, missed strikes, smaller prey first, a body growing into its own design, skill settling in, not all at once, but over time, until movement and judgment begin to meet. So the beginning is quiet, more quiet than forceful. A hunter resting rather than rushing, watching rather than spending, conserving what must later be used with care. In this world, even strength is careful. Even the animal nearest the top often spends long stretches doing almost nothing visible at all. In the grass, stillness can become nearly complete. An ambush hunter lowers itself into the background until shape loosens and attention slides past. The body does not announce itself. It waits among stems, or shadow, or the broken pattern of ground, reducing movement until almost nothing remains but presence. Then all the stored motion belongs to a single instant. That instant matters because timing matters. Too early, and the prey startles away before the distance closes. Too late, and the opening has already folded shut. So the hunter waits at the edge of action, where patience and force are held together, for a few breaths longer than seems possible. Wind can undo this. Scent drifts ahead through grass or over bare ground, and the hidden body is discovered before it appears. Then the whole arrangement changes. The careful approach dissolves into distance. A hunt can fail before the prey ever truly sees what is there. Elsewhere, there is no wish to vanish. A pursuit hunter gives up surprise and trusts another set of gifts: endurance, speed, the ability to force a long run, a hard turn, a mistake on rough ground. Here the image is extension, a body stretched into motion, asking whether the fleeing body ahead can keep its line, its breath, its footing. Some hunters live between these two worlds. They come close quietly, saving energy, reducing the space one measured step at a time. Then, only when success begins to feel possible, they release a brief, explosive chase. The long quiet and the brief chase belong to one design. A cheetah carries that briefness in its whole form: flexible spine, long legs, tail balancing the turn. The acceleration is astonishing, but it cannot last. Heat rises quickly. The speed has a short life. So the chase is a narrow window, bright and dangerous, opening and closing in moments. There are hunters that wait where land and water meet. A crocodilian at the edge is part of both places and fully visible in neither. Thirst draws other bodies toward the narrow margin. Hooves approach, heads lower. The boundary itself becomes a funnel, a thin band of risk where still water holds more than reflection. And there is the pale platform of sea ice. A polar bear moves slowly there toward a seal's breathing hole. The place of safety for the seal is also the place of danger. Air must be reached. The surface must be broken. The bear's patience belongs to that certainty. White against white, moving little, it waits beside the only opening that matters. In darkness, hearing can become the map. An owl listens over grass or snow for a rustling too faint to see. Uneven ear openings help sort tiny differences in arrival, a slight shift from one side to the other. Hidden prey leaves almost no image, and yet the sound is enough. The night offers a small thread, and the owl follows it downward. Another hunter finds what cannot be seen in cloudy water. A shark moves through dimness where vision loses detail, and weak electrical fields from muscles and nerves become another path toward prey. The water may be dark, the shape may be unclear, still something living gives itself away. A pit viper waits in low light with another kind of sense. Warmth gathers where a body holds heat. The strike is aimed toward that warmth. The darkness is not empty after all. It carries a hidden outline, faint but usable, enough for the waiting body to know where life is passing near. Some hunters use height instead of concealment. A raptor circles on thermals or watches from a perch, allowing distance itself to become part of the search. From above, the ground opens into patterns. Movement reveals itself. The hunter does not need to cross every empty stretch. It lets height spare the body from blind effort. In water, movement has to be managed differently. pressure waves can betray an approach, so an aquatic predator may glide with very little turbulence, almost smoothing itself into the surrounding water until the final burst. The stillness here is not the stillness of land, but it has the same purpose, to arrive late in the prey's awareness. Some fish do not seize so much as draw inward. The mouth cavity expands suddenly, and water and prey rush in together before reaction can catch up. It is over in a quick inward fold, a whole small world pulled through a narrow opening. Silk can wait too. A web hangs quiet, almost absent, until vibration passes through it. Then the spider knows. The net is a trap and a sensing field, delicate and tense. The prey touches one strand and news travels through the whole structure. There are endings shaped by the body that gives them. Big cats often bring the struggle down with a precise bite to the throat or muzzle, where breathing can be controlled and the contest shortened. The motion is close, exact, and costly if misjudged. Force alone is not enough. Placement matters. A constricting snake closes in another way. By tightening around the chest, it makes breath and blood flow difficult in a short span of time. Coil after coil becomes a narrowing space. The prey's movement slows within that steady pressure. Venom changes the scale of danger. A smaller predator may attempt what its jaws alone could not safely hold. The body does not need to overpower prey through strength alone. It needs only to deliver what the prey carries away inside itself. Armor changes things too. Thick shell, tough hide, spines. Some prey cannot be handled in the ordinary manner. A predator may need to flip, pry, drown, or simply turn away and seek another body more open to injury. Not every meal is worth the cost. Where prey gather in groups, confusion becomes a defense. Many moving bodies blur into one another. The eye struggles to keep hold of a single target. The herd tightens, the school turns. Safety grows at the crowded center. But hunters learn the edge. A slightly separate animal. A hesitation, a limp, a brief widening of space. A wolf pack can spread out and test a herd, not rushing immediately, but reading reactions. The center holds, the edge wavers. Somewhere, one body answers pressure differently from the rest. Then cooperation begins to show its shape. Several hunters, related or temporary partners make prey possible that might be too costly alone. One drives, one waits, one cuts off escape. Group behavior becomes a kind of shared body stretched across the landscape. Orcas carry this into the sea with shifting roles. Some herd fish, some create waves. Others hold the best position and wait for prey to arrive where the water has already been arranged for them. The hunt is not one motion, but several fitting together, each body placed where it matters most. Even among the top hunters, food is not always won cleanly and kept. A fresh kill may attract another predator ready to steal. Then success becomes hurried, eating fast, dragging meat into cover, guarding what was just earned. The meal is never entirely separate from competition, and sometimes the better choice is not to kill at all. Scavenging belongs here too. An already dead meal can be safer, easier, and more efficient than a new struggle. The life near the top is not a constant display of force. It is often a quiet series of decisions about cost. Young hunters learn this slowly. They begin with smaller prey, easier chances, less punishing mistakes. Practice settles into the limbs. Judgment grows through failure as much as success. A mature body may look complete, but skill has been built inside it by repetition. Dominant adults may hold the better feeding sites while younger hunters work the margins. A prime route, a productive reef, a good valley, a favored edge of water. Rank can shape hunger even within the same species. The world remains uneven at every level. Season changes the body as well. Lean prey may be easier to catch. Lean predators may have less strength for long pursuit. Ice shifts. Migrations move. Drought redraws the map. What was once a strong position can thin out. What was difficult can briefly become possible. So apex life is not a crown set firmly in place. It is adjustment, a moving balance, winning often enough, over enough seasons to feed and survive better than rivals. Not every chase succeeds. Not every ambush lands. Not every territory stays rich. The hunter near the top remains there by fitting itself again and again to a changing world. And still, after all this motion, so much of the day returns to rest. Watching, conserving, waiting in grass, on ice, above water, beneath water, beside a trail, under darkness. The body saves itself for the few moments that matter most. When one of these top hunters thins out or disappears, the quiet changes elsewhere. Mid-sized predators may become more numerous. Smaller prey feel more pressure. The alteration travels outward, not as a single event, but as many small changes in many lives. Sometimes presence alone is enough to shift a landscape. Herbivores feed differently when a top predator is near. They linger less in certain places. They move on. Plants that were heavily browsed may have time to recover under that changing pattern of caution. The animals taken first are often the weak, the sick, or the unwary. Across many seasons, that repeated choosing can shape which prey survive and which do not. The effect is quiet. It accumulates. 1,000 brief encounters, each one small, each one part of a longer pattern. And after a large kill, the story does not end with the hunter. A carcass becomes a short-lived island of food. Scavengers arrive. Insects arrive. Microbes spread through what remains. Energy passes outward into many smaller lives. What was once a running body enters the world again in another form. Even so, no place holds one permanent ruler in every condition. Species may stand at the top in one habitat and not in another. A river changes the terms. A reef edge changes them. Forest canopy, open plain, deep water, sea ice. Each place favors some bodies and limits others. The same is true of age. The young of a top species are not born into full command. Size must come. Skill must come. Experience must come. Before that, they live below the position their elders may hold, practicing toward a future not yet secured. Several top predators can share one landscape uneasily by dividing time, place, or prey. One takes the daylight, another the dark. One favors one route, another a different one. One chooses a different kind of meal. The separation is never perfect, but it allows each to continue. And sometimes there is no single steady apex at all. Season shifts it, drought shifts it, migration shifts it, ice cover shifts it. The top position moves with changing prey and changing danger, as if the crown were made not of bone or tooth, but of weather and timing. So the image that remains is not of a ruler fixed above everything else. It is of a life held in relation to place, to season, to effort, to luck, to the alertness of prey, to the nearness of rivals, to the condition of the body itself. Even at the top, the animal belongs to the same changing world as everything it hunts. In that world, much is decided in quiet ways. A strip of wind crossing open ground, a breathing hole in sea ice, a faint rustle under snow, a herd tightening at the center and loosening at the edge. A body in tall grass becoming less and less visible until only the possibility of motion remains. Then quiet returns again. The raptor rides high air. The shark glides through cloudy water. The owl hangs over the hidden sound. The crocodilian waits where thirst narrows the path. The polar bear stands beside the small dark opening in the ice. Around each of them stretches the long economy of rest, of attention, of energy not yet spent. And this, perhaps, is the softest picture to keep. Not the strike, not the chase, but the waiting that surrounds them. The animal near the top is often still. It watches. It conserves. It lets the world come close enough to matter. Grass moves lightly around a hidden shape. Water holds a nearly invisible line. Ice lies pale and open under a patient body. In every place, the hunt is carried for a long time inside silence before it becomes movement. So the last image settles on that held moment before action, when the world is balanced and undecided. A hunter remains almost motionless in its own element, fitted to grass, to current, to darkness, to ice. Prey moves somewhere nearby. Wind passes or fails to pass. Light gathers or thins. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is permanent. Yet for now, the body rests exactly where its habitat, its senses, its practice, and its patience have brought it. And the top of the food web is a brief, still place in a living, shifting world.